back to the Orgasmic Birth Podcast, where we explore the power, the passion, and the possibility of birth and parenting as a transformative and orgasmic experience. I'm Debra Pascali-Bonaro, director and host of the Orgasmic Birth Podcast. This week, I invite you to settle in and get ready for a truly inspiring conversation, one that will expand the way you think about birth, pleasure, and presence. Our episode is about midwifing pleasure, holding birth in joy and presence, and I'm joined by a dear friend and an extraordinary guest, midwife Samara Ferrara. Samara is a professional home birth midwife in Mexico, with an incredible depth of knowledge and experience. She holds a degree in both reproductive health and midwifery, as well as biological sciences from Texas A&M, with over 500 births attended, both home and hospital settings. Samara brings a blend of science, spirit, and sacred care to her work. But what truly sets Samara apart is her passion for midwifing not just babies, but pleasure, trust, and sovereignty in the birthing process. She's a mother of 3 homeborn children, a teacher of sexuality education, a certified bliss-born hypnosis childbirth educator, a doula, and a powerful advocate for midwifery across the Americas through the Professional Midwifery Association. So join me today as we explore her own personal story and connection to her work, her birth, and birth as a rite of passage rooted in joy and intimacy, and also how motherhood, loss, and life's deepest cycles have shaped the way she serves others. Welcome, Samara. I am so honored that you are joining us today.
Oh, Debra, it is my pleasure to be here with you. I love being here because I met you 15 years ago in a midwifery conference in Strasbourg. And when I listened to your workshop, I felt in love in the way you transmit your experience, your love and passion for your work. So this inspired me a lot. And now I'm here with you sharing, and I'm very happy to be here.
I am so excited. I've been waiting for today because with both our schedules, it took time. But, I always love to ask guests if you can start us back because you had your own 3 births. So there was a time that you were exploring, your options and deciding what that would look like. Can you give us just a short overview of your births and how that led you to all that you're doing today for families truly all over the world?
Yes, Deborah, it all started when I was 3 years old and I saw my brother being born at home because my mother chose to give birth at home for 2 out of 5 children. And I was there 3 years old, sitting in this little chair, watching my brother being born. And then I think this imprinted in me because when I was pregnant of my first child, and I have already studied my bachelor in biology, and I knew how animals gave birth and how the human body was like so amazing in its anatomy, physiology, that I was 7 months pregnant and I was going to give birth in a hospital because everybody did that here in Mexico. And I was like, no, I really don't want to go to the hospital. Like something inside me stopped me. And I saw a video of a woman giving birth at home. She felt like she was smiling, moving around, and I've never seen something like that. And I felt so identified. So I decided to search for a team who supported my home birth. And it was so amazing. Like I gave birth in 4 hours. There was pain, but also so much pleasure and enjoyment, and I felt so happy with my body. And then I decided to do the same with my other children. And my second was born a year later, very fast. And after her, I was one day like thinking, what do I want to do besides being a mother? And it came to me like, I want to be a midwife. And I was like, what? Inside me telling me this, and I was like, who's talking to me? So I started searching midwifery, and it was the same year that I went and saw you in Strasbourg in 2010. And for me, it was opening a world of seeing birth in this amazing way. Yeah.
What an incredible story. And I'm really touched. Like, so many people can't imagine like a child seeing birth, and to know that that had such an imprint, right, in a positive way for you. And that kind of opened up something in you, right? As you were getting ready for your own babies. So, so beautiful to hear. And I love that you said too that there was pain, right? There's challenge, there's intensity, there's pain, but we can also have joy and pleasure, as you say, in that. So, how did you kind of open up to kind of the thought that there was joy and intimacy and sovereignty that transforms the experience into, as you say, a rite of passage?
Yes. There were many people that inspired me. I read so many books because I knew when I was pregnant of my first baby that I was going to face something big. So for me, it was so important to prepare myself, not just searching for information, which is so helpful, but also like feeling so comfortable with my body, allowing my fears to express and transform them before the birth. For example, when I was a child, I was abused by my neighbor who was 18 and I was 5. And for me, I read a book that said maybe sexual abuse can interrupt the birth process. So
Yes.
for me, it was like, I better work in this before birth. So I transformed myself. I worked it inside me. And I said, I allow my baby to come out. I am giving permission for my body to open. This is healthy for me. Like I started doing all of this mental work, and the birth was so fast. And I'm sure it was because I worked all my fears that I could have worked on. And so I think watching other testimonies, other women giving birth, gave me that force of saying, if they were able to do it, I can also do this. And also like allowing this team to support me. I had an amazing doula, a gynecologist, and a pediatrician that were there with me with so much respect, silence. I felt I could express myself in my voice, my movements, and that is so important.
So important. And I love, even then, right? You had a doula. And at
Mhm.
that time, that wasn't always so common. How did you kind of come to learn about doulas and invite a doula to support you?
I didn't know about doulas until I took a prenatal course. And the one giving the class was a doula. And when she told me what a doula did at birth, I was like, I want that woman with me because she's going to be the yes when maybe something inside me is like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do this. Like, for example, in my first childbirth, I threw up a lot because it was so intense. And, and I told her, like, I'm going to die. And she told me, no, that's perfect because if you open from your mouth, you open below and everything is coming so fast through you. This is so healthy. And I was like, what? This is healthy?
I love,
So a doula, like saying the right words in the right time makes all the difference. Her touch. It was like, I'm going to be okay. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I've never done this before, but I know this is going to be okay because she looks so confident, so calm, so supportive. It's the figure of like a mother, a woman, like saying, yes, of course, you can do this.
Yeah, so beautiful. And was that same doula with you for the other births, or did you have different teams supporting you?
For the first and the second, yes, same team. But then for the third baby, something inside me told me like really strongly, like, I want to give birth to this baby alone. And so I didn't have a gynecologist, a pediatrician, or a doula, but I had some support of friends just to come and be there with me and also my family. And it was the most amazing birth because the resources have to come 100% from inside, a very strong connection, and I couldn't look at it outside. So I had like this experience of coming out of my body in the moment of most intensity. I was like, oh, this little voice, what did you do? Why didn't you have a doula, a doctor? What if something happens? And then I was like, "Yeet." I came out of my body, like that's what I felt. And it was like, yes, you can do this, like, boom. And then he started like pushing a little bit, and then the baby started coming out. It was like this amazing movement of, like, it's nothing that I recommend, like, not have anybody in your birth, because of course there's a small chance you might need some assistance. But I felt it so strongly that I decided to allow myself to do this. Mm. And my daughter is a lot like that. Like, she wants to do everything on her own.
Isn't it interesting how impacted we are? Like their spirit really, they participate in the whole pregnancy and birth, and that really plays a part in our experience and then in who they are.
Yes, I feel that very strongly too. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I also want to come back because, sharing that you were sexually abused as a young child, my heart just, really aches for that. I'm always so sorry to hear that. And I'm really so, glad that you were able to share that because I know that many women, right? We look around the world and we know that many women are suffering many times in silence and aren't aware, like you were blessed to be aware that that could come up for you in childbirth, and did so much work to open your body and to open the experience and bring healing so that birth can be an incredibly healing process. Would you want to share a little bit more now as a midwife? I know you support others that are in that situation. Are there other things you recommend or more that you want to share about how you personally prepared?
Yes. I mean, going through this experience as a child was very hard because I kept it quiet until I was 20 something years old. I didn't tell anyone because I was so ashamed, but it definitely impacted me in what I do now. Because for me, it's been so important to liberate my voice, to work in my body, releasing tension. And this is also protecting women a lot. Like, not in an overprotective way, but more in a guarding the environment so that they feel safe. Like, yes, just making them know nothing is going to be done without their consent. They have the right to have the information to all their options. The environments of pregnancy, childbirth can be so loving and so safe. And also that the birth process is something that just allow that to happen. to let the woman express and go through sometimes very hard times. Like about a month ago, I was in a home birth, and there was this woman that also went through a lot of abuse when she was a child. So we talked about it during the pregnancy, and she was afraid that this would stop her birth process. She had a 48-hour labor, and it was so necessary for her to process and allow the body to express and release her baby. Then when she came from fear to like when she was about to start pushing, she was like, please, contractions, come. I'm waiting for you.
Aw.
And I was like almost crying to see this transformation of this woman of wow, how the bird gave her this opportunity to get in contact with her body in this way. It's so beautiful. I cannot stop to be amazed of what women can process in the birth. They rebirth themselves.
Are you curious about enhancing pleasure and easing discomfort in labor? Orgasmic Birth and Dame present the Pleasure Vibe Fin, a waterproof vibrator designed to empower your journey through pregnancy, birth, and beyond. Boost your oxytocin, ease discomfort naturally, and transform your birth into an empowered and even orgasmic experience. Plus, support postpartum healing and reconnect with your body. Are you ready to embrace the power of pleasure? Click below, learn more, and start your transformation today. I know that you talk a lot about how motherhood, loss, and the cycles of life have deepened your service in the way that you support and hold space for others. Can you talk about that?
Yes. There are these like so amazing moments of healthy births, but there are also sometimes so many experiences that leave women with like feeling that something was not like they wanted, or going through this process of almost a death of an idea, also a death of expectations. But also I've been in two births where the baby died, and it was like all of this very strong process that I went inside me. But my grandma, which is a very strong woman, told me, this is real. This is part of life. If you accept to be at births, you also accept to be at deaths. And I was like, oh my God, you're totally right. I was like only in this world of fantasy, and I didn't have my feet in the ground. And that doesn't mean that it was easy. I also went through a process, but it was so beautiful, because death can also be so beautiful because it's a passage. The same way we can celebrate life coming, I understood that we can also celebrate, and it's an honor to be there in a being leaving their body. I mean, and so I started searching all of this new world for me, and also how can we make the process of also a woman dying at birth, because some part of her dies to a mother to be born, that to make this a very strong, intense process in a more pleasurable process. If she feels loved, if she feels supported, it's so much easier for the woman to transcend to the next stage in her life. Also, we know that when women in postpartum live it with a tribe, with a group of women supported, feeling this therapeutic conversations with other women going through the same things, how these introducing pleasures in our lives makes us go easier through this a very intense process that we go through, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, as you talk about pleasure, right? There's more and more data now that pleasure is healing, and you're talking about healing in so many ways and honoring. And, when we talk about pleasure, we're talking about all the different ways of pleasure in pregnancy and labor, in parenting. So, I don't know if you can share, obviously keeping confidentiality, but what are you seeing that people are doing to create pleasure in their births?
Yes, I talk about this conversation with women when they're pregnant, even when they're trying to get pregnant. When we talk about fertility, the first thing I tell them is we need to lower the stress in the whole experience. And what are your ways that you feel pleasures in your life? So we explore in what, because each individual is different. Like I myself feel so much pleasure getting together with friends and cook different mushrooms and vegetables and having these conversations, and then we get together and play the drums, sing. I find so much pleasure in these kinds of experiences. Just last night I went to my roof and I was watching these amazing clouds, and I was like, wow, I was feeling inside me like life is so beautiful. For me, looking at nature makes me feel like so connected to all the rhythms of nature, all the expressions, all the systems connected to each other, all the cycles, and whatever each person feels connection and pleasure and enjoyment, I tell the woman to look for that, because that will lead them to joyful experiences in whatever they do. So if women dedicate pregnancy to have joyful moments like getting a massage, getting in water, eating delicious, nutritious foods, that pleasure is also passed to the baby, and it's a connection. And at birth, it's going to be so much easier because you already have the practice of listening to your body and giving it what it needs. And also in intimacy with the couples, I do touch this topic with them. Like, are you feeling pleasure when you have intimacy with your husband? What other ways can you find to get more release? Because there's so many women, Deborah, and of course you know it, that have never had an orgasm.
I know.
And it's like, how do you expect to give birth without living an orgasm? Because an orgasm is a release, an expression 100%. And if we are able to go through this before birth, it makes it so much easier. You're an expert
So
in this topic.
yes, and I was hoping you were going to go there, because I couldn't agree with you more, right? That it's sad that so many people don't know their own pleasure spots of how to open to birth, especially to open to orgasm ahead of time. But you're on our advisory for our new pleasure vibe, and we're seeing that pleasure in intimate ways in birth, as you know, is increasing oxytocin, but helping people open in different ways to birth. What would you say about that? What's your experience?
Yes, definitely. I remember in some moments of my three home births, and whenever I felt this touch of love, support, I I actually felt like my body opening. It was like this release of tension is also opening the canal for the birth to happen, for the baby to emerge, because it's a yes to the body. It's like, it's okay. This is good for me. And in my late years, I have been having some sessions and also so many conversations with one of my friends that is a sexologist, pleasurologist of pleasure. And it's so interesting, like in how much education that we need to share with the not only going through pleasures of intimacy, but also pleasures in everything that we do. We can have so much pleasure taking a shower, so much pleasure hugging, like for a few minutes, a friend, so much pleasure in like even brushing my hair. It's like, oh, and or taking a tea, you know, a warm tea with a little bit of honey. And this friend works a lot with couples to make them have the experience of knowing new horizons, of having pleasure in their intimacy. And I think also me, I've learned so much from him to also allow myself to, like, we have all this body with so many, so much sensation that it's a waste to not use it.
Yeah.
It's like our body was made to feel. So why not experiment and go through a discovery of what we feel with different temperatures, different textures, getting to know what areas of my body are more sensitive than others, what areas I don't feel comfortable, what areas are so tight that when you press and release, it's like, wow, that's like an orgasm. So I think we need to give ourselves the opportunity to also like lose so many fears that we have in that pleasure is feeling guilty. I don't know if in your world this is correct, but in Mexico, like the religion is so strong still in some people, and they relate pleasure with guiltiness. It's like, no, no, I shouldn't be feeling so good with something. There's something wrong. And so I think we need to work so much in education, which I love with children. I go to schools and teach them sexual education, and I talk about pleasure. It's like, of course, things feel good. If something feels good and you are not harming anyone, keep doing it, because pleasure will give you health. I mean,
Yes.
as simple as that.
I love it. And I love that you're educating children on that. And I think it's not just Mexico. I think all over the world, we see, especially in religious and more patriarchal influence, that pleasure is not embraced. And yet we know, as you're saying, and from science, that pleasure is part of health and well-being. Well, I have to say, I could talk to you forever, Samara, but I'd love to ask if there's one more thing you'd like to share, especially thinking someone that's listening that might be pregnant and getting ready for birth. What would you share as a closing thought?
Yes, if you're pregnant or you want to become pregnant, I would really invite you to explore yourself in different ways and identify what makes you feel good, what makes you like want to search for more comfort, more well-being, and start increasing those experiences, because that will lead you to very healthy processes. When we feel good, we search for more good. And it's like an incremented a way of living, you know. And that's what I would really suggest, to give yourself the chance to explore and listen to what feels good in your life and go for it. Yes. And we have all of our lives to keep exploring. That's something beautiful, because in every stage of our lives, we find some things more pleasurable than maybe others. And it's a journey like forever, which makes me feel like so excited and motivated that this is just the beginning.
Beautiful
Mm.
advice. And I know people listening are going to say, how can they contact you? Can you share where people can find you, follow you?
Yes, you can find me in Instagram. That's where I'm more active with reels and educational videos, with my name, Samara Ferrara.
Okay. And I have to say, your videos are awesome. So, anyone
Oh,
that's listening, I hope you're going to jump over to Instagram, and we'll put your link in the show notes. So, wherever people are listening or watching, just look below in the notes and you can click over. And I want to thank you again. I'm so glad we met in Stroudsburg all those years ago, and being able to follow your incredible journey and how you are really not only providing care to the families in your community, but really having an impact globally on midwifery. So I want to thank you so much for all you do.
thank you, Debra. It's so beautiful to talk to you. I get all of this orgasmic, happy energy when I speak to you.
Ditto. So let's
Yes.
say thank you to everyone. Please, we love it if you rate and review the podcast, share this episode with friends and colleagues that will benefit from some more pleasure in their life. And we hope you'll join us next week on the Orgasmic Birth Podcast.